Rise today as well to speak about the nomination of Judge Brett Kavanaugh to serve on the United States Supreme Court. He was nominated July 9th, about 86 days ago today. Even before he was nominated, a number of members of this body stood and said they would oppose the nomination, not even knowing who he or she might have been, that they would oppose the nomination to the Supreme Court. After the name came out that evening, other members of the Senate said, I would oppose that. Chuck Schumer, the Democrat minority leader, said he would oppose the nomination, he said, with everything that he had. You know, it used to be that we could just disregard language like this as empty rhetoric. Not anymore. Now we know exactly what Democrats had in mind from the very start. We have seen the kind of a smear campaign that they have been planning from the very beginning. What I've heard from people at home in Wyoming is that they didn't think things could get any lower in Washington, D.C. until they saw this. Democrats have done everything under the sun to delay Judge Kavanaugh's nomination and to tarnish his reputation. Began with misrepresenting Judge Kavanaugh's sterling judicial record. Well, that didn't work. Then they unfairly complained that they didn't have enough documents by Judge Kavanaugh. When that didn't work, they shifted to surprise attacks on his character. The only thing that they have accomplished is to set a new low for how Democrats treat people in Washington, D.C. You know, there's a way we do things in the Senate to make sure that we can fairly and fully investigate nominees for important jobs. What we've seen is Democrats have absolutely rejected this bipartisan tradition. They hid information for more than 2 months. Then, after Judge Kavanaugh had gone through 4 days of confirmation hearings, Democrats leaked that information to the press. Information that they had been sitting on and hiding from the American people, hiding from the Republicans on the committee, hiding from the judge himself. This isn't the first time that we've seen Democrats try to change the rules when it comes to judicial nominees. The Democrats really do have a double standard. They do it time and time again. They want one set of rules for when there's a Democratic president, and then a totally different set of rules when there's a Republican president. Democrats have had for years something known as the Biden rule, named after then Senator Biden and then Vice President Joe Biden. This Biden rule said you shouldn't confirm a Supreme Court nominee once the presidential election is in full swing. Democrats wanted that rule in place when George Bush was president. Once President Obama was in office, Democrats wanted to pretend they had never said it, never heard of it, and it no longer applied. They wanted a totally different set of rules for considering nominees for a Democrat president than those for a Republican president. Then they had what we saw here in the Senate as the Reid nuclear option. That's when Democrats decided and voted overwhelmingly to get rid of the filibuster for confirming judges and other nominees. Democrats set the rule when they were in the majority, when there was a Democrat in the White House, and they wanted to confirm people that were nominated by President Obama. As soon as a Republican came into the White House, the Democrats who voted to change the rule now complained when the rule that they changed was applied to them. Democrats have a double standard. And now what we see is the Schumer rule. Democrats took the normal process for how we review nominees, and they threw it out the window. Democrats' new rule is this: defeat the nominee no matter what. Democrats are willing to do whatever it takes to delay, disrupt, intimidate, and obstruct this Republican nominee. Democrats haven't just thrown out the standards for how we do our work here. They have absolutely trampled on common human decency. It was bad enough when Democrats were just trying to delay things. They demanded reams of paperwork. Well, senators have been given access to 500,000 pages of records, 500,000 pages of records from the judge's time as a judge and throughout his career in public service. Now, that's triple the amount of information that they've ever gotten about any other Supreme Court nominee. After Judge Kavanaugh's confirmation hearings, he responded to nearly 1,300 written questions from senators. That's more questions than we've had for every other Supreme Court nominee in history combined. Combined. But Judge Kavanaugh has served on the Circuit Court here in the District of Columbia, the second highest court of the land, for 12 years. He's written opinions in 300 cases. If anyone wants to know how he'll act as a judge, they should look at how he's already acted as a judge for the past dozen years. These are the documents that matter. These are the ones that tell you how he approaches being a judge. People can look at the 13 cases where the Supreme Court adopted Judge Kavanaugh's reasoning. That's how much respect other judges and justices have for his careful and compelling decisions. Washington Democrats don't seem to care about any of this. Democrats got the documents that they asked for, so they just changed their demands. Now, you can see how transparent Democrats have been by looking at what they said last week. As late as last Friday morning, the Democrats were saying that we should pause for a week. That's what Senator Schumer said, Senator Feinstein, other members of the Judiciary Committee. They said, let's pause for 1 week. As soon as the Republicans said that we would do that, the Democrats said, not good enough. Said it doesn't matter what happens in that week. They're still voting no because it was never for them about finding the truth. For many, it was never about even the name of the nominee, because they came out opposing him before his name was even placed in nomination by the president. This has always been about the far left wing of the Democrat Party doing, as they've described it, whatever it takes to push their talking points. It's now all about the politics of personal destruction. Don't seem to care much about what they do and how they damage the people involved. Don't care about the damage they're doing to the Senate, the damage they're doing to the Supreme Court. The American people deserve better than this. It's time for the Democrats to end their charade before they do more harm to the Senate, to the Supreme Court, and to the United States of America. Thank you, Mr. President, and I yield the floor.